Hello. I'm going to do part 2, but anyway, hold still. This is a little cookie. Say hi, cookie. Okay. So let me finish the poem and I'll go back a little bit. Ah, Carl, while you're not safe, I'm not safe, and now you're really in the total animal soup of time. And who therefore ran through the icy streets obsessed with a sudden flash of alchemy, of the use of the ellipsis, catalogue, of variable measure, and the vibrating plane? Who dreamt and made incarnate gaps in time and space through images that juxtaposed and trapped the archangel of the soul between two visual images, and joined the elemental verbs and set the noun and dash of consciousness together, jumping with sensation of pater omnipotens aeterna dois, to recreate the syntax and measure of poor human prose and stand before you speechless and intelligent and shaking with shame, rejected yet confessing out the soul to conform to the rhythm of thought in his naked endless head. The madman burn and the angel beat in time unknown, yet putting down here what might be left to say in time come after death, and rose reincarnate in the ghostly clothes of jazz, in the golden shadow of the band, and blew the suffering of America's naked mind for love into an Eli, Eli, lama, lama, sabachthani saxophone cry that shivered the cities down to the last radio, with the absolute heart of a poem of life butchered out of their own bodies, good to eat 1,000 years. What sphinx of cement and aluminum bashed open their skulls and ate their brains with imagination? Moloch, solitude, filth, ugliness, ash cans, and unobtainable dollars. Children screaming under the stairways, boys sobbing in armies, men weeping in the parks. Moloch, Moloch, nightmare of Moloch, Moloch the loveless, mental Moloch, Moloch the heavy judger of men, Moloch the incomprehensible prison, Moloch the cross-boned, soulless jailhouse and congress of sorrows, Moloch whose buildings are judgment, Moloch the vast stone of war, Moloch the stunned governments, Moloch whose mind is pure machinery, Moloch whose blood is running money, Moloch whose fingers are 10 armies, Moloch whose breast is a cannibal dynamo, Moloch whose ear is a smoking tomb, Moloch whose eyes are 1,000 blind windows, Moloch whose skyscrapers stand in the long streets like endless Jehovah's, Moloch whose factories dream and croak in the fog, Moloch whose smokestacks and antennae crown the cities, Moloch whose love is endless oil and stone, Moloch whose soul is electricity and banks, Moloch whose poverty is the specter of genius, Moloch whose fate is the cloud of sexless hydrogen, Moloch whose name is the mind, Moloch in whom I sit lonely, Moloch in whom I dream angels, crazy Moloch, cocksucker in Moloch, lack love and madness in Moloch, Moloch who entered my soul early, Moloch in whom I am conscious without a body, Moloch who frightened me out of my natural ecstasy, Moloch whom I abandoned. Wake up, Moloch! Light streaming out of the sky. Moloch, Moloch. Robot apartments, invisible suburbs, skeleton treasures, blind capitals, demonic industries, spectral nations, invincible madhouses, granite cocks, monstrous bombs. They broke their backs lifting Moloch to heaven. Pavements, trees, radios, tons, lifting the city to heaven which exists and is everywhere about us. Visions, omens, hallucinations, miracles, ecstasies gone down the American River. Dreams, adorations, illuminations, religions, the whole boatload of sensitive bullshit. Breakthroughs over the river, flips and crucifixions gone down the flood. Highs, epiphanies, despairs. 10 years, animal screams and suicides, minds, new loves, mad generation down the rocks of time. Real holy laughter. In the river, they saw it all, the wild eyes, the holy yells, They bade farewell. They jumped off the roofs of solitude waving, carrying flowers, down to the river, into the street. Carl Solomon, I'm with you in Rockland, where you're madder than I am. And I'm with you in Rockland, where you must feel very strange. And I'm with you in Rockland, where you imitate the shade of my mother. And I'm with you in Rockland, where you murdered your 12 secretaries. And I'm with you in Rockland, where you laugh at this invisible humor. And I am with you in Rockland, where we are great writers on the same dreadful typewriter. And I am with you in Rockland, where your condition has become serious and is reported on the radio. And I am with you in Rockland, where the faculties of the skull no longer admit the worms of the senses. With you in Rockland, where you drink the tea of the breast of spinsters of Utica. I am with you, Rockland, where you pun on the bodies of your nurses, the harpies of the Bronx. I am with you, Rockland, where you scream in a straitjacket that you're losing the game of actual ping-pong of the abyss. I am with you, Rockland, where you bang on the catatonic piano of the soul is innocent and immortal. It should never die ungodly in an armed madhouse. I am with you, Rockland, where 50 more shocks would never return your soul to its body again from its pilgrimage across the void. I am with you, Rockland, where you accuse your doctors of insanity and plot Hebrew socialist revolution against the fascist national Golgotha. I am with you in Rockland, where you will split the heavens of Long Island and resurrect your living human Jesus from the superhuman tomb. I am with you in Rockland, where there are 25,000 mad comrades all together singing the final stanzas of the Internationale. I am with you in Rockland, where we hug and kiss the United States under our bed sheets, the United States that coughs all night and won't let us sleep. I am with you in Rockland, where we wake up electrified out of the coma of our souls. Roaring over the roof, they've come to drop angelic bombs. The hospital illuminates itself. Imaginary walls collapse. Oh, skinny legions, run outside. Starry, spangled shock of mercy. The eternal war is here. Oh, victory, forget your underwear. We're free. And I'm with you in Rockland. In my dreams you walk dripping from the sea journey on the highway across America in tears to the door of my cottage in the western night. San Francisco, 1955, 1956. So, who is this Carl Solomon? That's an interesting reference. Well, Carl Solomon was born March 30th, 1928, and lived to 1993, and he was an American writer. He was in the same mental hospital in New York State where he met Allen Ginsberg, who was there as an alternative to jail for confused involvement in some petty thefts. It was through Ginsberg that Solomon would gain his fame. Ginsberg later dedicated his poem HOWL to Solomon, the third section of the poem addressed to Solomon by name, and it uses the phrases "I am with you in Rockland" as a refrain to each line in that section. The first section of the poem immortalizes a few of Solomon's personal exploits, such as the line, "Who threw potato salad at CCNY lectures on Dadaism and consequently presented themselves on the granite steps of the madhouse with shaven heads and harlequin speeches of suicide demanding instantaneous lobotomy." The friendship between Ginsberg and Solomon that was formed in the asylum lasted until the two were very old men, and during their institutional time together they discussed literature among many other things and wrote wildly whimsical unsent letters to some public figures of the day. One of Solomon's best-known pieces of writing is Report from the Asylum, Afterthoughts of a Shock Patient. It is an account of shock therapy treatment used to treat patients in asylums drawn directly from personal experience. It was written with Antonin Artaud somewhat in mind because he had received the same treatment himself when he was unjustly institutionalized by the French government. This piece is included in the 50th anniversary HOWL facsimile as part of the appendix. In the late 1960s, Solomon published two chapbooks of prose poems with Mary Beach books, text and documents distributed by City Lights Books, mishaps perhaps in 1966, more mishaps in 1968, emergency messages published in 1989. Featured selections from other two books along with some of Solomon's other autobiographical, critical, and poetic writings. During his life, Solomon also a frequent contributor to the New Directions Annual, American Book Review, and the New Leader. Well, that was interesting to know. And it was fun reading that. Yeah. Yeah, I met Allen in Boulder years right before he died. I mean, I had known him, I'd seen him around, but passed him on the streets and used to say hi to him. I even wrote a poem to Allen Ginsberg. I'll have to look that up and read that to everybody. So, anyway, HOWL became the first censorship case that went before all the way up to the Supreme Court. And we have to thank Allen Ginsberg for standing up to that and other people that supported him, because it ended censorship in America. Well, artistic censorship. It didn't end all censorship, but it was a step forward anyway. So thank you, Allen, wherever you are, for all your writings and all your great work. Peace. I feel like a hippie. Woo.